our second point here is that Christ's return was to receive the disciples into their new covenant relationship, which was in Christ. Okay, that's what John chapter 14 verse 3 is all about. So let's go back to our Bible and go to John chapter 14 verse 3. All right, so we had verse 2, verse 3. He says, and if I go and prepare a place for you. So now we know where that place is, right? It's in Christ. He says, I will come again and receive you. Now remember to whom he is speaking to, right? He's speaking to his 11 disciples. So he's telling them, he says, if I go to prepare a place for you guys, I will come again and receive you unto myself. Now, let's just view this verse in the Berean literal Bible. Okay, look what he says there. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I am coming again. Right? I am coming again and will receive you to myself. Now notice, well, okay, let me just let me just calm down a little while here, right? Notice, he didn't say, I'm going to take you guys off the earth and take you into heaven. He didn't say that. He says, I will receive you to myself. He says, I'm coming again to you. So where are the disciples? They are on the earth, right? So he has to come to the earth and receive the disciples to himself. Okay? And now look what he says. That where I am, you may be also. So where is Christ? Where was Christ, as a matter of fact? Notice he didn't say that where I will be. He says where I am. So where was Christ when he was speaking these words to his disciples? He was right there with them. Okay? But more, that's in his flesh. But where was he in the spirit? Right? Let's go to verse 10. Okay? So let's go back to our King James here. Let's see where Christ was. He says, where I am, okay? There you may be also. So let's see, where was Christ? Let's go down to verse 10. Look what he says. Believest thou not that what? I am in the Father. So where was Christ? Notice he didn't say, I will be in the Father. He says, I am in the Father. Right there when he was standing with them, talking to them. Right? In his flesh body. He says, at that point where he was standing there in his flesh body, I have to emphasize this because it takes a while for us to really get it. Jesus was standing there in his flesh body. In Hebrews 10, I think it says, a body hast thou prepared for me. Okay? So he was standing in that flesh body. And he was saying to his disciples, I am in the Father presently. So, let's go back up to verse 3 and answer the question. I will come again, receive you unto myself, that where I am, where is that? In the Father. There you may be also. Again, Jesus was not talking about taking his disciples up into the sky, into heaven, into a big building, a big temple up there. He was talking about bringing them into the same relationship that he had with his Father. While he was standing right there talking to them in flesh and blood body, he was letting them know, I am going to make it possible for you guys, while you are living, breathing, walking on the earth, to be in the Father, just like I am presently in the Father. That was what he was talking about. But you see, what the Christian church is telling us, no, you have to wait thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years from now. Every year, yeah, Christ is coming soon. Christ is coming soon. Christ is coming soon. Every year is the same thing. That is such a lie. When Christ is presently saying, look, any man who believes in me, in my name, I am going to place him in the Father where I am. Okay? And Jesus was in the Father while he was the Son of humanity, while he was the Son of Man standing on the earth. Similarly, we as sons of humanity can be in the Father while standing right here on the earth. We don't have to wait until some supposed time where Christ is going to burst the sky and come down. All of these things are allegories and signs. You have to understand Christ in the spirit, not the flesh. You remember when Jesus told those who were following him, he says, look, you have to eat my flesh and drink my blood. You see what happened? They said, no, that's a hard saying. We can't do that, boy. Because why? Their understanding was in the flesh. And when Christians have their understanding in the flesh, they are going to be easily overthrown. Right? They are going down the wrong road. But anyway, so there you may be also in the Father, not in heaven, off the earth. All right? So now, there you may be also. Now, since this is a spiritual reality, okay, that he is going to place he was going to place his disciples, and then he says all those who believe in their word also, right? He's going to place all believers in himself. We know he's talking about a spiritual reality because let's just be ridiculous for a little while, okay? Let's suppose he really intended to fit everybody in his body, in his physical body. You can't do that because a body of flesh cannot fit even one extra person. Only one person can fit in a body of flesh, okay? Therefore, it was necessary, now listen to my words carefully, it was necessary for Jesus to return into the spirit realm where he came from so that he can put off his flesh body and resume his spirit nature so that he can now have everyone, all of his believers in him, and he also can be in them. Okay? Now let me show this to you. 1 Corinthians 15:45, which we just read, but I did not read the entire text, so let's go back there. 1 Corinthians 15:45, because a lot of people believe that Jesus is still human up in heaven, still flesh and blood. Okay? That's what and that's what I was taught, right? That's what my religious education taught me, that Jesus was up in heaven still as a flesh and blood man. Still with physical hands and feet and eyes and skin and hair and so on. But look what it says here clearly. It says, so it is written, the first man Adam was made a living soul. Yeah, we know this is the flesh man Adam. But it says the last Adam was made a quickening spirit. When was he made that quickening spirit? It was not while he was on earth, because you remember, after his resurrection, Thomas came and Jesus says, look, touch me. A spirit does not have flesh and bone. So he was not spirit while he was standing on the earth. So when did he become this quickening spirit? It had to be when he returned to heaven. When he returned and received the glory of his Father. What is the glory of his Father? His Father is spirit. His Father is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. That's the glory of his Father. He received that back. Right? And I'm going to show that to you now. I'm telling you, you never heard it like this anywhere. Revelation chapter 4, Revelation chapter 5, verse 6. Okay? Look at this. This is John in vision. Okay? So once he's in vision, we know he's symbolic. So you got to interpret the symbols, but they're very easy. Okay? It says, and I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb. Okay, so we know right away here's Christ. Okay, a lamb as it had been slain. So we know this is after the crucifixion. Okay, so now after the crucifixion, the ascension, Christ is in heaven. Having 7 horns. Horns represent what? Power. 7 represent what? All. So here is all power. Remember, Jesus told his disciples in Matthew 28, all power has been given unto him. And 7 eyes. What is the eyes? Eyes is knowledge, sight. So this is omniscience, right? All knowledge, right? Which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. Now, when was the Spirit of God sent forth into all the earth? The day of Pentecost, right? So what is telling us here that this lamb, which had been slain, which is Jesus Christ, was given omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence, because he is sent forth into all the earth. So he has to be omnipresent. He has to be everywhere at the same time. So this is the pouring out of the Spirit, which is the Comforter, which is Christ. Okay? Christ, the Anointed One, was sent forth into all the earth on the day of Pentecost. That is why he said, it is necessary for me to go back to my Father. Because if I don't go, then the Comforter can't come. Because who was the Comforter? The Comforter was Christ with the 7 horns, the 7 eyes, and the 7 spirits. Okay? So this is telling us now that Christ, the coming of Christ, that he spoke of here in John chapter 14, the first phase of it was accomplished on the day of Pentecost, where he came to his disciples in the spirit realm to receive them into himself so that they can be in Christ. Okay? And then he would begin a work in them so that he can now be in them. Right?